right, welcome to Strictly Ball Business, guys. We're on episode 27. I'm Alec. That's your boy Dalton over here. I'm a Timberwolves fan. He's a Magic fan, but we talk about the NBA and its entirety. And today we're analyzing a Bleacher Report redraft from 2018. We're also going to dive into the Nets versus the Warriors. Who needs to add more to their team more than the other? We're also going to talk about the Pelicans as they are buyers, reportedly. Could they get De'Aaron Fox? That's a debate we're going to talk about. And who are the best available vets for trade ahead of the deadline coming up here soon? And also connecting to trades, Spencer Dinwiddie potentially wants to get out of Washington. So keep an eye on that. We're going to talk a little bit about the potential places he could go. And then also some potential that we see in James Harden going to Philadelphia and playing with Joel Embiid, which would be incredible. And it seems that there's some potential smoke to that fire. So first of all, Strictly Ball Business here, guys. Episode 27. We're analyzing Bleacher Report's redraft of 2018. And obviously, first overall, we all know who would go in a redraft, and they agreed with us, is Luka Doncic. I mean, just a bona fide star in this league, although maybe doesn't have as much playoff success as other guys on this list, but still a fantastic player, huh?
Yeah, clearly the best player. Granted, not that much difference between him and number two. However, he is clearly the best player. He's come out. I mean, I didn't believe in him when he first started. I thought he's going to be a bust. I was wrong. It was just me and white guys from Europe. It was the Mario Hezonja curse that I was like, it's happening again. But he's going to be the face of this league soon. He's amazing. He's a great player to have in here.
Yeah, no, I mean, like he would go to the Suns in this scenario. So, he's playing alongside Devin Booker. And, they probably don't get Chris Paul then if they draft Luka Doncic. So it's interesting to think of the ripple effect that this has and who maybe they would bring in instead, because would they still try to get a veteran at some point? I don't know. Lots to think about.
Yeah, definitely. Funny enough, like they'd get the better player in here, but I don't think they would make it to the finals still if they had Luka over and Booker,
They would really shake up their team. Yeah, because they wouldn't get Chris Paul.
Yeah, because the Suns fit so well together, and that's kind of why they go so far with Paul, Booker, and Ayton, the top three stars, plus Mikal, who's further down in this draft too. Like adding all those guys together, that's probably messed it up. I don't think they would make it to the finals. Clearly had a better player, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, great team. Second overall in the redraft, though, it was obvious who they were going to say here as well as Trae Young, another guy who's blossomed into a star. I would admit that I was very down on him coming into the league. I just thought it's a failed Curry clone is what he's going to be, but I was wrong. He's a lot more than that. He's a great facilitator and a leader for his squad, and has even adjusted with the foul changes this year with what they're allowing, jumping into defenders. But he makes sense for this spot. He would go to the Kings in this scenario, right?
Yeah, play well next to De'Aaron Fox. But that's a great point. Bringing up the foul shots, everyone said before the season that he doesn't play basketball. Everyone hated the way he made basketball, and they were really upset the way he was an all-star starter last year, and they were super mad about it because of how he played. And he showed
this year, maybe.
He showed that that's not what made him good. And he has the highest offensive rating, I think, in the league. He runs the best offense while he's on the floor. His offense is it's like something insane, like plus 50. I mean, don't quote me. That's an exaggeration, but it's something
advanced
insane.
Analytics love him.
Yeah. So he's wonderful. Yeah, he's great. And yeah, if he went to the Kings, he'd play next to De'Aaron Fox. Maybe the Kings would be relevant for once. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would have been fun. I mean, that would have been kind of like a yin and yang, the because Trey is not like, I wouldn't say he's like a run and gun. He's, very methodical with his play. Where De'Aaron Fox is a bit more ferocious.
Yeah, definitely a better. Sure. I mean, he has Buddy Hield, but takes the ball out of his hands. Like De'Aaron Fox is kind of what what Trae Young needs right now. Another player to take the ball out of his hands, and so he doesn't have to run the offense 100% of the time he's on the court. So that's kind of what they need right now, and that'd be cool.
That would be cool. I mean, it would be more likely now in reality that De'Aaron Fox would be traded to the Atlanta Hawks to go play with Trae Young. So that would be interesting. I don't know. Would the Hawks be willing to give up John Collins to make that happen? That would be
Good.
interesting.
I don't know.
But anyways, we're talking the redraft from 2018. Number 3, they have Michael Porter Jr. going here. Now I feel like I have a responsibility to say that this article is a couple months old. So I think it's before he just had his recent back surgery, which to me is concerning because this was an issue he's had before. I think he's had 2 surgeries on it before or something. So we're talking about maybe 3 surgeries already, and he's had the blown ACL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had that back surgery right before, and that's why he dropped so low to originally 14. But now he's taking 3 here. I still think is high, but I mean that's hindsight. I mean, obviously we're looking at it at the time. I don't know. I couldn't tell you because I'm thinking about now. 3 is still too high for me. I mean, he's still a guy that struggles with defense. Right before his injury, he was struggling with all that responsibility of being a scoring option. He was not doing well. He was not playing as well as he was last year. And it's hard to see it now. I don't see him being the third better. I don't see him being better than a lot of these guys on the list. For me, it would be this next guy on the list that would take this.
Yeah, for me, definitely. They have Ayton at 4 here, who's definitely better than Michael Porter Jr. And I would say I would rather take Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over him too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too. I would too. And I think it's a toss-up with some of the other guys. But yeah, I mean, moving on to Ayton, if we want, like people said he was a bust. I mean, even he had a decent rookie year. Like I'm like, come on. Like even though he falls to 4 now in the draft, granted, I think he's 3, but he's been great. I mean, how often do you see like a big man just come out? I mean, Mobley right now, he's like a sensation, but Ayton kind of did what he was doing now. He's just less possessions. Like it wasn't him that changed as much as the team. The team gave him more possessions.
He's really solid. I would say he's very dependent on other players, though. Like Chris Paul definitely pulls a lot out of Ayton. I wouldn't say he's like, the sole reason. Like Ayton's obviously got a lot of talent. That dude eats up boards, and he's great with the and ones as well. But he's just not dynamic enough. He doesn't shoot beyond like 10 or 12 feet, 15 feet. He's not much of a ball handler. Like he technically jump shoots it a lot when he's down low in the paint, but I can't, he's not really pulling out the guy as much. He's not stretching the floor enough. And defensively he seems solid. But he's not a superstar there, I would say.
No, like I think he's like a perfect example of an all-around center that we have in this league. He kind of does a little bit of everything pretty well. He took a massive jump defensively before us. He was fine with bigs, like he was all right. He wasn't a liability, but then it was his responsibility to guard Giannis in the finals line. Granted, they lost, but he still did a really nice job to ask at the time a 3-year player to go and guard like the best player in the league. I mean, he did a nice job, and when he was on Giannis, there was no easy buckets. He did everything he could. So that was the most impressive part for me. Like he was on the finals, and he looked like he was ready to be on that stage. He still was a little foul, got into a foul trouble a lot, especially in the finals, but that'll come. He's just a young player, and I think he belonged in the finals, and I think we'll hopefully see him there again.
No doubt. Well, 6th on the list, they have Mikal Bridges, solid player.
Well, you jumped over like one of my favorite guys on this list.
Oh,
you went to 6. That's all right.
At 5th, they had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who fantastic player on a poor team. I'd say if he was on a better team, he probably is a lot higher on this list, even if he's doing the same stuff he's doing now.
Oh yeah. Well, he was a huge reason why the Clippers went to the playoffs before they went out and got Kawhi, went out before they went out and got PG. Like he's a really great player. He's a superstar. Arguably, he could go 3 in this if you want to put him above Aiton or put him above MPJ. I can certainly see that happening. He's all around guard. He can defend. He can shoot. Playmaker, drive. He does a lot of everything. He's a great prospect, and I think the Thunder are in a really happy place that they have a perfect guy to build around. You can go off ball, you can go on ball, do whatever you need.
I think they're happy, but like at some point, Shea might get tired of the losing.
Yeah, I think he knows their timeline. I think they know their timeline. I know they're not ready to be good. I think they just hit another prospect. I think they're one trade away from being like, all right, let's start this ball rolling before let's start being competitive. I think if they get a trade for like John Collins or something, and I mean, they found something in Lou Dort, they found something in Josh Giddey. I think they just need to work on their front court.
No, I'm sure he's happy about like, oh, you got Giddey. He's a solid player. And, maybe in this next draft, you get solid. They really got a hit on getting a top 3 pick at some point. But also like, Shea's been in Oklahoma City, going on 4th year now, or is this his 4th year?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, his first year was with the Clippers. So this is
his talking 2018
3rd year. This is his 3rd year with the OKC.
Okay. All right. So this is third season with OKC. At what point do you get tired of spending a lot of your time in Oklahoma?
Yeah. It could. We're going to reach that time. I think next year is the selling point for him. They paid him the money. I think it takes a few years, especially in that rookie. On that rookie scale contract, I think it takes a few years once you're making the big bucks, making the max contract before he even gets to that mindset of thinking. So I think they've got 3-4 years left of SGA before they have to start actually making him not making improvement, but like getting far in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just, it's when you're in a small market, and especially Oklahoma, where I don't know, maybe he's closer there. Maybe he likes going there. I don't know. But when you're comparing it to the other cities, you just have to, your rebuild has to be faster. You have to prove yourself quicker. Unless you strike a guy that's, just has that internal honor, that Ned Starkness within himself. But not everybody's like that. I mean, a lot of them talk the talk, but not all of them walk the walk. I mean, today, Dirk Nowitzki was on a German podcast, and I saw a transcribed version of it. And he was on the record of saying if he didn't win that championship in 2011, he likely would have looked for other teams later in his career to go get a ring. And it's interesting hearing him say that because, like, there's a lot of players in this league who I've heard say, like, oh, I want to play for one team forever, just like Dirk. Like, oh, I got to be loyal to my team, just like Dirk. And it's like, well, Dirk himself was like, hey, if I didn't get that chip, I was going to have to go get it somewhere else.
Yeah, you can only put up with so much, and that's why, like, front offices have to do what they can. But speaking of the small markets, though, instead of the Suns picking up this steal in the draft at 10, he's going 6 to my Orlando Magic, Mikal Bridges.
Ooh, yeah,
is this great. who I would have thought would go 6? In my opinion, no. But he is a very underrated player, great defender, probably one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. That's why he's a good shooter. He's got a little bit of everything, just not a big enough role in the Suns to show what we really need him to be. But he certainly is an effective player, a huge part of why they went to the finals.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. He's a very, very good catch and shoot type of player. You throw him in the corner, and if he's open, he's gonna nail it in the clutch, especially. Like he's awesome in that.
He was huge in those games.
Great outlet passer as well, and I think he would be great to the Magic. It'd be a solid player that they could help rebuild around. But I worry if he was on a team that, like the Magic, where they were too bad, that they would inflate him too much and like see him as more than what he is. Like, what he is with the Suns is great. But what if you tried to push him beyond that and it just wasn't going to work out?
Well, at this time, he would have fit into a lineup. You would have thought it. Looking at it, it would have been Peyton with Vucevic, Aaron Gordon, Fournier. He would have fit in fine. I thought. I think. I mean, Jonathan Isaac, who never plays, so he'd effectively play his role just a little better because he was actually he'd be actually on the court. So I think he would have fit in fine. Like he'd be close to the same role actually that at the time of the Magic drafting him in 2018.
Yeah. Well, that would have been a good pick, but who did they end up taking instead?
Mo Bamba.
That's right. Mo Bamba.
Which was still weird because they had Vucevic.
Well, the next pick they have in this redraft is Jaren Jackson Jr., who, playing really well this year, has been injured a lot, though, in his career. Should he have potentially gone ahead of a guy like Mikal Bridges? Maybe. I think it's kind of a closer debate, but Mikal has been there, best ability is availability,
Yeah. I mean, he's a second Triple J is arguably the second best player on a Grizzlies team that's made a lot of progress in the West. They've took a huge step this year. A lot of it's his defense, spreading the floor. He's not that efficient of an offensive player, but you certainly see all the potential that he was drafted on for. Fourth, obviously he was drafted high at fourth. 7, I would put him above Mikal. I feel confident enough about that, but 7th isn't a bad place. Going to the Bulls at this time, I mean, what they need now is a power forward. Like if they would have had Triple J instead of.
Oh man, yeah, the Bulls with Triple J would be great.
Oh, this is Wendell. This was Wendell. That'd be. I mean, they wouldn't have Vucevic, but it'd be different. Yeah, but it'd still be a different lineup. I don't know if the Bulls would be as good, but I can't say they wouldn't be in this case.
Yeah, it'd be a good addition to them, and like if they didn't end up trading him away in like one of the other packages, anyways, because like. That's how they've gotten all their talent in Chicago right now has been through trades and free agency.
Yeah. I mean, DeMar was a sign and trade. It was, but like there's that goes into it's like half a trade.
I'm saying like they have like no drafted and homegrown talent as well.
Kobe White's still there.
Kobe White sucks.
We'll get into that later. But
no, we won't.
Speaking of talent that just kind of came up, like the Time Lord is 8. He's going to the Cleveland Cavaliers, which would mess up their entire what they're doing now. I don't think if they made this draft and got Robert Williams, who before we get into the team success, I think 8. This is a good spot for him. I think it's a little high considering some of the other players on here, specifically 3, 4 of them. I think he's not as good as 4 other people that are under here in this draft. But he's certainly not a bad player. He's a great player, can be a starting caliber center on any team. Doesn't spread the floor, but plays great defense, perimeter and inside defense. So he's great. Market value, it says 5-year, $52 million. That's good. But if he went to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they don't get Jared Allen. They probably don't get Mobley. I think it changes everything they do, and I think they would be worse.
I don't think they pass on Mobley. I mean, they maybe don't bring in Allen, but I doubt they pass on Mobley if they're at 3 still in the draft because like he was just that great of a player popping off the board for talent. So I mean, I don't know. Scotty Barnes would have been a solid pick though too, but I don't know.
It's just like this messes with their future to the point where like I really don't know what the team would look like. I don't know if they would win more after this. I don't know if they would lose more. It just messes up their timeline. The Time Lord messes up their timeline so much that I can't actually foresee like what this team would look like now if they would have drafted Time Lord.
Look like a bitch. Yeah, I don't know.
Another guy. I think this next guy was drafted too high too. Granted, I like him, Mitchell Robinson, drafted at 9. I think there's again 4 other guys that I would put above him in this draft. He's a very specialist type player. I don't know if he can be a starting player for being 7 foot 7'7", 7'2". He's not the best rebounder. Granted, great shot blocker, one of the best shot blockers in our league. However, that's kind of all he can do. Like that's all you ask him to do. He's very foul trouble. He pretty much only plays 20, 25 minutes a night as a starter because of his foul troubles. And And no spacing on the floor. He's a really nice player. Just like I said, like there's another specialist on here that's really good at one thing, and that's why he got his contract. And he's really good at inside defense. I can see him going. Just drafted too high for me.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that's next on this board is who I would have put. I mean, even I would have kept him still at 8, Colin Sexton, but instead he gets drafted at 10th in this redraft. I mean, Colin Sexton, I know is injured this year, so there's probably maybe some recency bias with that. But that dude's an animal and is a scoring machine. Maybe he is a specialist just on offense and doesn't give you much of anything on defense. But I mean, he's averaging close to 25 points per game at his age. Like, that's incredible. I know it was down this year too. And Garland is definitely like, if you had to choose between the two, you're going to choose Garland now, it looks like. But I mean, Sexton is still a really freaking good player. And like, I think the Cavs, when they end up trading him, like they're going to get something good in return.
Yeah, and imagine how crazy good the 76ers would be. I mean, he's kind of the missing piece that they would have had, like, because he would be next to Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and if this was draft, I think this is where Matisse went. So, like, you looking at that, being like, would have been the third star, would have been the third piece, along with a guy. I don't know if they would have had Jimmy or Tobias yet, but
they maybe would have won a championship by now. Yeah, if they.
Yeah, you got to think that would be crazy. I mean,
that would have been a big addition.
Yeah, there's. Push the 76ers way better than they actually were. Not that Matisse is a bad player, but
yeah, Collins Matisse is a very good defender. Obviously, a lot better defender than Colin. But I mean, the Sixers have good defenders with or without Matisse, and they could probably find a decent veteran defender. I'm not saying as good as Matisse, but it's hard to find a dynamic scorer who can, handle the ball like and control the offense like Colin Sexton does. And
yeah,
the Sixers need a guy like that. They have needed a guy like that.
For sure. I still think Colin Sexton can help out the Sixers. He's injured right now, and he's not injured, so he's not going anywhere because he's injured. Nobody's going to trade for him because it's his last year on his contract.
That kind of was a bummer. That kind of messed things up.
Yeah, sure did. But that was the top 10. He
signed an extension.
Did he?
4 years, $100 million, I thought.
I didn't see that.
Maybe he declined that.
Yeah, I think that was what he declined because I think he's going to restricted free agency. But next one is I don't have much to say about this one. It's Dante DiVincenzo to the Hornets at 11. I think it's too high. He spent all year last year out. He's struggling to get back into form this year.
Who else is available?
So if we want to move on, so 12, the Clippers pick up Duncan Robinson. I think Duncan's that specialist I was talking about, 3-point shooter. I would put Duncan, certainly above Dante DiVincenzo. I mean, both have been to the finals. Dante didn't play in the finals, but wow, this is like the third team that went to the finals. A bunch of rookies went to the finals. Now that I'm thinking about it, but
no, Duncan's really solid.
Great piece to have.
He's a specialist. He's older than Dante, but he helps you more immediately. So who cares how old he is?
Yeah, I mean, people can argue about Dante's potential that he could be more, but I don't see that potential. And as of right now,
I haven't seen it pay off yet.
Yeah, Duncan's better.
Quite a bit better, I feel like. But I mean, Dante is a really solid, wing when it comes to the transition. He can control the offense a little bit, and he's definitely a better defender than Duncan is. But
yeah, he is. That's right.
Duncan's such a good 3-point shooter. That just having that on your team is such a big addition.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like he just instantly spreads the floor and changes the defense when he's out there. But the biggest travesty on this list, this redraft here, is this guy. And granted, this came out before he really came out and had a great season. It's Miles Bridges at 13th to the LA Clippers. Clippers would love this, but I would personally have him. I'd say he'd go 7th on my redraft.
Miles he should Bridges, be pretty high on here. Yeah.
Yeah, 7th on mine. I would put him right below Jaren Jackson, but above is that his brother? Mikel's brother?
No, they're not. Yeah, they're not related.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd put him above Mikel. So, and he would fall at 7th for me. He's really shown shooting still struggles, but he took that offensive jump.
Got a lot of potential. I feel like he's still getting better. So that's definitely a guy that should be going very high.
Definitely rim running guy who can come out and give you 20. I think that's valuable on a lot of teams.
This is
But
what Derek Williams was supposed to be.
he is what Derek Williams was supposed to be. 14th, my guy, Wendell Carter. I think he's a lot higher. Not a lot higher, but I certainly would put him above guys like I would put Wendell above Duncan Robinson. I would put him above Mitchell Robinson. I don't know about Time Lord. I think it's close. Wendell can spread the floor. He has good interior defense. Not that good of the perimeter defense, but still a good guy. Showing a lot of playmaking in the role he is with the Magic. Play power forward, center. I think he's a versatile big that I think he'd be a top 10 in this draft, I would say.
I mean, I think he could go ahead of Robinson, like Mitchell Robinson. That is, I don't know who else he would go ahead of. Maybe Dante. Go ahead of Dante.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to compare him to guys like Duncan Robinson and Colin Sexton because they're such completely different players. They're both completely different expectations for the player when they come into it. But 15, Devontae Graham. Yeah, sure. That's fine.
He's a fine player. You know, he's a little inefficient, but
it's a pretty deep draft.
So far, there's a good amount of players that are still solid. So that's good to see.
My next notable actually is at 17, the Milwaukee Bucks pick up Jalen Brunson. I think Jalen would go a lot higher. Clearly better than D'Anthony Melton. I think.
Yeah, I feel like if this article was written more recent, like he's been really solid this year with Luka being out. And he's probably going to get a pretty big contract this offseason.
Yeah, I think he would certainly. I would put him above Duncan. I would put him above Wendell. Yeah, I mean, he's in the skill level of Wendell, so he could fit in the. I wouldn't be surprised if he made top 10. Would I put him in the top 10? I'm not sure. I'd have to list him out, but it's close. It's close. He's certainly a lot better. When he got drafted, I was surprised he got drafted in the second round. I was hoping the Magic would draft him. I loved him in Villanova, so I was like, this guy's clearly good. I mean, he was Player of the Year of college too, and won the championship. Did they win the Villanova? Didn't win the champ. Yeah, they did.
Gonzaga, are you thinking of? Or Villanova did win it one year.
Yeah, him and Dante DiVincenzo against that was Mo Wagner. That was the year Mo Wagner and Michigan. It was Michigan versus Villanova. I think Villanova won. I think they did. Spurs get Kevin Huerter at 18, whatever. I think mine. Okay, so Bagley drops from 2 all the way to 22. This guy's going to the Bulls from New Orleans. I think
it's going the first round.
Yeah, honestly, like not that I hate the guy. It's just it isn't working out in Sacramento. They're clearly just putting him out there because they don't want to waste his asset. He's gonna get traded this trade season. He has to. I mean, they can't just kill an asset like that. I think he can certainly be better than 22. There's certainly
the Kings. They
could. Great point. But also like he's the thing is though, even in this right now, he could still. I don't have him at 22. Like 23, Jared Vanderbilt has clearly played better than him this year. Jared drafted 41st. I think Jared has a lot of potential, and we've really seen him in this big role excel. He's a specialist, granted, so he's not like top 10, maybe not even top 15, but he excels in what he
does. Which is very valuable. You know,
the best offensive rebounder in this league.
And the Timberwolves need that type of player. They needed a guy that could bring in offensive rebounds because nobody else is doing it. Cat is going out to the 3-point line more often, so he's not able to get in there. He's not banging down low as much. Though he's still very successful at it and does it on occasion, but you needed another guy who's willing to do the dirty work and go for the balls out of bounds. And he's just got a motor, man. Like he does not stop. He is constantly, trying to keep possessions going, and more often than not, when you keep the possession going, you're going to get a bucket.
Oh yeah. He really kills it.
It helps.
But, my last two notables, Mo Bamba at 26. I personally would have him higher. He has played better this year. He's actually gotten the minutes. I would see him going 20th, obviously, to the Wolves if I had to redraft it. Better than Javion Carter's currently in this list going to the Wolves. I would put him above Javion. Not that Javion It's hard to say because he's on the Nets. He doesn't get much time. So the potential's there for Carter, but I would still put Mo Bamba that high. But
Yeah, did the Wolves take Josh Okogie originally?
yeah, that was
here?
Okogie. Okogie was their
Bummer.
pick. But Gary Trent Jr. on all the way to 27, that doesn't
Oh
sound right.
man,
Like
yeah,
he should
he's
be a
been
lot
really good.
higher.
He just had like his third 30-point game, like in some short period.
Yeah,
Recently.
he's really nice. I mean, he was traded for Norman Powell. Like he was for almost a straight up trade. So like he was a pretty good guy. Like I don't know. He
Yeah,
would be
got
a
a
lot
decent
higher.
extension.
Be a
Yeah,
top
he's
15
solid.
draft.
He's solid. Very, very good 3-point shooter. I think he's still around 40% this year. And yeah, excels in the role that he's given. Like they have a lot of guards there on that team. So I think like maybe could shine a little bit more somewhere else. But I don't know. They did just trade for him too. I think maybe he just needs to grow a bit more into himself. He's doing it more lately too.
Sure.
Probably earn the trust of coach more, play alongside a guy like Fred VanVleet, and you're gonna have stardom coming your way.
Yeah, but that was Bleacher Report's 2021 draft. What did you guys think of it? Comment below. Let us know. Please let us know. Are we right?
Subscribe. Strictly Ball Business. Let us know if we're right.
Let us know if we're wrong.
We would do it, or if you think Bleacher Report is right.
Yeah, what was the biggest travesty? Let us know. Put that down there. Who was the biggest displacement on where you would have put them?
Next up, we're talking about the two powerhouses in our league, the Nets and the Warriors. Now, we could both bet that they're going to be active in the trade and the buyout markets, respectively. Now, who is more in need of bringing a new player to their team, though?
My opinion, who needs it more is the Nets. Granted, last year they had the best offense ever when all three of them were on the court. This year, obviously, they're not all going to be on the court all the time, especially in a playoff setting. Kyrie can't play in home games. Kind of just screws that away. But looking at the numbers, how they are, Kyrie hasn't played most of the games. Where are we at? So the Nets, they're 18th in defensive rating. Obviously, they can improve in defense, but they need, I would say they need a top 10 defense, maybe 10, 11, and 12 to even get to where they want to go. Like that has to keep up with their offense. 6th in offensive rating, 11th in rebounding, which is surprising to me. I would have thought they would have been a lot worse. 18th in turnovers, so they need to clean it up. So there's a bunch of things that they need. But currently, where I see they can improve immediately, they're 14th in three-point percentage, but they're 26th in attempts. So they just need – I think they're not a terrible three-point shooting team. They just don't shoot enough. So I think a nice shooter, a more willing shooter can come out and help them. Like Dwight Howard, 67% from three. No, I just saw that. I was combing through and I saw Dwight Howard shooting 67% from three, 6 of 9 on the season.
What?
Yeah.
What the hell?
I thought that was insane. But no, realistically, awesome. I think a few of the guys, Luke Kennard would be a perfect fit for this team. I think if he could come in, play off the bench, I think that would be awesome. Or even be a sub for Harden or sub for Kyrie, or when Kyrie's not playing, I think it would be a really nice 2-guard. Does take away from your defense, doesn't help towards, but you get a more willing shooter. At most, I think they can put together, without trading Joe Harris, I think the most they can do is put together $10 million, which is still decent. You can still get a decent player on the trade market for that.
What about Terrence Ross? I think, Terrence Ross makes a lot of sense.
So, yeah, Terrence Ross would be a perfect pickup, too. I have that. I have one trade for each of these guys, but he was literally said Terrence Ross would be perfect pickup on my notes. So that's nice thinking. But the trade I have is Kelly Olynyk. So they get Kelly Olynyk. The Pistons get Paul Millsap, Bruce Brown, who's I'd like to think is the cornerstone for the Pistons. They look at that and they're like, we get a really nice defensive player. The guy can defend like bigs. He's a really impressive guy.
Yeah, he would have a big role in Detroit, I feel, for sure.
Yeah. And then Javion Carter and Day'Ron Sharp. So that trade works financially. They get 4 players. They probably waive Paul Millsap right away if he goes to the Pistons, but Kelly Olynyk, I think, would be a super nice fit. They need bigs. They let go of Paul Millsap. DeAndre Jordan's gone. They have what's splitting my name? LaMarcus Aldridge. And Blake Griffin. Those are their big.
And LaMarcus Aldridge is fresh off of a blood clot scare or a irregular heartbeat beat last year. So
right,
and
I'm
sure he won't. Shooter. I mean, he's good this year, but they just have a lot of guys on their team who are going to be needing rest, and they need someone else who can come in and help.
Yeah, and that's why I think Kelly Olynyk would be a great addition to this team. I think obviously he's a nice shooter. He can play well. He plays well in the playoffs. You remember the Celtics run with Isaiah Thomas against the Wizards? He played really well that series. So I think he would help out. Doesn't help out much on defense, but I think they've shown that they can build a decent defense around in the playoffs. They just need shooters on the outside with them.
What about Robert Covington?
I think Covington's taken a huge step down from shooting from when he was in Minnesota, even when he was in 76ers. I think he would certainly help out with their team defense. Like that. He's if they can get him. I just see. I mean, yeah, I could see the Trailblazers move. Like if you just kind of filter this trade the same way, like I would see the Trailblazers being like, yeah, we'll take Bruce Brown. I think he's a really nice piece. On the last year of his contract, I don't know if the Trailblazers would jump on that unless they're going to give him a contract in the offseason, which I'm sure they would. But, yeah, that would be nice. Covington, I could see that happening.
Yeah, I could see it. I actually think the Warriors need a trade more, though, because they have such a young squad outside of their top three, which I remind you is full of injury-prone guys. So – with Klay Thompson just being back, he's been awesome. Jordan Poole has a case for most improved player for a lot of this season, and Juan Toscano Anderson, future slam dunk champion, he has been decent as well. But Andrew Wiggins does not deserve to be an all-star. Do they get someone better than Wiggins? I don't know, probably not. Maybe they get a role player, someone who's, more around that veteran minimum type guy who can come off the bench. They kind of missing someone there, I feel. I mean, Jonathan Kuminga, solid. We haven't seen enough really out of him to assume he's going to be great in the playoffs, nor Moody. Wiseman hasn't played at all this year. They need more healthy guys. So I think... maybe another just guy who can play the big position is what they're going to need the most. And any maybe like 3-4 tweener is fine too.
Oh, yeah. I actually don't surprisingly, I don't have them getting a big. So this is what I put down in my research. So they're first in defensive rating, 11th in offense, 29th in turnovers. They're a very loose team. They lose the ball a lot. Like you said, a lot of young players. But they're 13th in pace, which I think for what they can do, if they can increase their pace and get more playmaking out there, that would be a lot better. I mean, they have the highest assist percentage in the NBA right now. So it's hard to say that you can get a better playmaker. But if you push that pace with that assist, then that's just open floor. It brings them back to why they were so good 3-4 years ago. So a few of the guys I think that would really help out are like Isaiah Thomas. Currently, he's with the Mavs. If they waive him, I think he's worth picking up. A guy to come off the bench. Jordan Poole, I don't think he can run this bench offense. He's a great six-man, but the six-man doesn't have to run the offense. They just have to score in the offense. So I think a guy like Isaiah Thomas would be great. Even Jordan McLaughlin, he's really high. These are high playmaking, high assist, high pace players. I think Jordan McLaughlin would be a really nice fit.
They ain't getting McLaughlin. They can have my boy Beasley. They can give us back Steph Curry.
But even Elfrid Payton, I always liked him. He played with the Magic. He's not a good shooter, not the best defender, but he is a good playmaker and a high pace offense, and I think he would excel here. But the trade I have is the Warriors are making a trade with the Clippers, and the Warriors are giving up Otto Porter Jr. and Juan Toscano Anderson, right? And they're getting back Justice Winslow. This is a high-paced player. He's played the point guard with the Heat, and they were actually pretty good when he did.
They really like him on the Clippers too. He's a great team player. He brings the most out of the guys around him.
Oh yeah, he's a wonderful piece to have, and I think if the Warriors added him, he's off the bench. He doesn't need to play point guard. He can play 1 through 3, maybe even 1 through 4 when they play a small ball lineup. And he's a good playmaker. I think he can really push the pace for them, and I think he'd help out a lot. He's a good
Yeah,
veteran now.
yeah, that's facts. Yeah, he's good. I mean, I like him. He's just really injury prone, but if you're getting him for like half season, he's not, he's not costing you money. So it's like, whatever, who cares?
Yeah. I mean, both Juan and Otto Porter are expiring. You got to think Otto's not going to re-sign. I mean, he's shown that he can play better than a veteran minimum already this season. So I think not both of them are gone, and you get a Winslow who is on a 2-year contract. I think that's really nice.
Gotta
Nice
love
addition.
the pattern of playing like shit, getting benched, getting a minimum contract on a great team, playing solid there, then getting a great contract, and then it just repeats itself.
Trevor Ariza. Shout
Like
out.
these
Shout out
types of
Trevor.
players, or they just get on the minimums, and then people value them because they're like, oh, he's so much better than that. We love him.
Yeah. Like we see the potential of what you could be.
But moving on, obviously the Warriors need it more than the Nets because I'm right, Dalton's wrong, and we all know this.
What do you guys think? Who do you think needs help? What trades do you think will help them? Let us know.
We're talking about here now the best available veterans for trade. Now, there's Paul Millsap who wants to leave the Nets. There's Buddy Hield. I don't know if you consider him a veteran. I mean, what do you consider a veteran? I guess.
I mean, I consider I guess that a vet is anybody not in their rookie contract is what the NBA actually considers a vet. I consider a vet somebody who's obviously been in the year 8+ years, 6+ years, depending upon their experience, I guess. Like I think the youngest guy I have on my list is like Kyle Anderson. I have him as a vet. He's been in the league a while. I think he'd be a nice guy. I think he's available. I think Dragic is about to be probably bought out once he comes back. Raptors are going to give him the option to play, and he's probably not going to accept it. And they said they're willing to buy him out. Dragic will be a nice guy to get. I think Carmelo Anthony. I don't know. The Lakers need some change up. Obviously, it's not working. I don't think it's due to
There's
him.
no way
fault.
they're trading Carmelo. There's no way.
Carmelo,
they're not trading LeBron's friend.
I mean, LeBron traded Dwayne Wade. So
yeah, Dwayne Wade was ready to retire.
I mean,
Carmelo's not ready to retire.
All right. I think Kemba Walker is a nice vet that's available. I think if somebody can go out there, obviously he can't fit the role that the Knicks thought he could, but he's shown that he can be effective, and I think there's a lot of teams out there that would love
Dennis Schroeder, another one.
Dennis Schroeder, I don't know.
I think they want to get something for him,
Yeah, that'd be nice. I'm gonna capitalize on what they get.
Marcus Smart actually is another veteran on that team who I think is available.
Yeah. I was looking at more like fringe, like smaller guys that nobody thinks about. Like Rose now, he's on injury. I think Rose would be a nice. I think you could plug him into any offense. I think he would be fine. I think he'd be a great 6-man, great veteran to have. Yeah, bring him back to Chicago. That'd be great. That'd be great if he went back to
Minnesota, baby.
Minnesota would be cool too. But I mean, the story if he went back to Chicago's played the best in so long. But McDermott, I think, is worth talking about. He's a great shooter. Obviously, fits a great role. You mentioned Millsap. Most teams are interested in him, but they don't want to trade for him. They just want to buy out. Milwaukee's leading that list. They're like, hey,
and that type of player, like you can just wait.
Yeah, they know they're gonna let him buy out. And then I think Bledsoe and Batum both on the Clippers. I think both of them are valuable veterans that could fit in somewhere else.
Batum's been great. I mean, I would love him on many teams, I'm sure.
Yeah, Batum, another guy you could plug in anywhere and he'd be fine.
Yeah, no, he's very good. Jusuf Nurkic and Robert Covington, both on the Blazers. Or Jusuf Nurkic. Both those guys are on expiring deals, so I would expect them to get traded.
Yeah, both of them could be valuable. I mean, Covington's valuable on just about any team, but Nurkic certainly he fits his role and he can go on any. There's a lot of teams I could think, like the Mavs, I think would like to have him. Warriors would like to have him, I think.
Wolves, I think would consider him.
Yeah, I'd like to play. I'd like to see how Cat plays
Knicks.
next to a center. I think that's something to experiment and it's worth
Yeah, like a
doing.
solid one. Yeah. I mean,
Defensive one.
just like a solid defensive one, like your traditional center who plays in the post.
But yeah, Yusuf Nurkic, Valanciunas, Adams, they're all kind of like cut from the same cloth. They're all prototypical centers is the word, I guess. Just gets rebounds, plays decent defense inside, sets
Yes, but you
good
only
screens.
named white players, sir.
Isn't Adams Samoan? I don't know. He's not Samoan.
Racist meter is
He
up.
just
Pal.
looks like Jason
the
Momoa.
racist meter is up. Get him. All right. Not any other vets you think? I mean,
I like blew through my list.
yeah, you blew it. Easy for you, huh?
I know.
Moving on, another guy who might get traded this year, which is kind of a surprise. But I suppose we knew the boom or bust potential was there, is Spencer Dinwiddie. Potentially going out of Washington because of locker room issues, which we all know once there are problems in the locker room, it's hard to get back from that.
Yeah.
Especially once it's leaking out.
Yeah, especially on the Wizards, because the Wizards, they could give a shit how you play. They don't care if you're good, you're bad. But if Bradley Beal doesn't like you, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Like he's the GM. We do whatever Bradley wants. He's okay with losing.
Yeah, he must think Spencer's annoying. And obviously he's fallen off a bit. And he's paid a good amount of money. He's paid $20 million a year. So
very inconsistent.
But he's fresh from the injury. It's like, you're just hoping he'd be great right away? Like, we're not at all gonna. It's very short leash, is what we're saying here.
I mean, he's still an effective playmaker and still does really well. He's never had a consistent outside shot. Still doesn't, and it's tough because now
what are they gonna do if they trade him? What are they gonna do? What's gonna be better? Like, how could it possibly? I don't know what are they gonna get for?
So I got 4 trades, right? So this first trade, it's with the Knicks, and it's more or less like, you want to try something different, we want to try something different. Let's swap guys. Yeah. So it's Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker with Dinwiddie and Aaron Holiday. So Aaron Holiday, Dinwiddie going to the Knicks. Wizards get Walker and Fournier. All those players are in the same boat, as in, we expected you to be better, you're not.
Yeah, I feel like Dinwiddie's got more promise than Fournier, and those guys are the front runners of this trade. So if I was a Wizard GM, I would not be excited about that trade.
Yeah, it's getting. I mean, Fournier at the very least, I think, does what he does best, and that's just shooting and playing off ball. I think he does that pretty well. He's not a horrible defender. Dinwiddie's not a good. I think if Dinwiddie's already, this is considering Dinwiddie's already gone. Like, they're like, you're leaving.
If Fournier got traded to the Wizards, how long do you think he would be there realistically?
Like a year before he gets traded again.
Like, exactly. He's another guy that you just churn and burn. Why do they want that?
I mean, just like, he's just one of those guys that are good enough to be a good trade piece, but not good enough to keep.
I would rather hold on to Dinwiddie and hope he gets some value back than take that trade.
Like I said, this trade's more, but like Kemba Walker also, I'd like to see him on the Wizards. They have things in peace. They've built a winning system already. I mean, the Knicks were in the playoffs last year, but they've seemed to fall off a lot. Wizards, they have Harrell. He knows how to win. Kuzma's coming out. Bradley Beal. I think Kemba would excel in this system. I think he would do a lot better than with the Knicks, where the Knicks are like, hey, you want to do everything? You want to just manage everything next to Julius Randle?
I agree. I just don't know how long it would last beyond that. He's on a 1-year deal. Would he just leave after this? I don't know.
Kemba's on 2 year.
It's 2 year? Okay. Yeah. Well, regardless, I mean, I don't know if you're going to get a ton of talent out of him for much longer in his career. I think his career is going to slowly fade away, unfortunately. What's your next trade offer?
So this is the Wizards calling up the Bulls. So they say, hey, we got Spencer Dinwiddie. We want Derek Jones Jr. and we want Kobe White. Let's make this trade.
No.
So who says no?
Uh, the Wizards say no.
Wizards say no. Really?
Yeah, I don't know. Kobe
Well,
White, yeah, he doesn't have enough potential
really?
to
I
warrant that.
still see the potential of Kobe White. Kobe White just got pushed back. And now he's the backup point guard with playing with a bunch of all stars. I
And
think
now
he's just on a
Lonzo's
different
out.
timeline.
Now
Granted,
Lonzo's out.
well, and their Bulls are still winning games. I don't think he's as terrible. I think it'd be nice to get a change of
It's
scenery.
crazy
I think Spencer
inefficient. He's like
Dinwiddie,
still shooting below 40%.
but so the Bulls look at it like I think for the Wizards it's enough. I think you get a guy like Derrick Jones Jr. Obviously, he's a role on a lot of teams. He's just an athletic guy who can run to the rim, may lightly spread the floor. He can
Yeah,
shoot. He
he's
can shoot.
garbage.
Not
Whatever.
good.
They just get rid of him. That would be fine. They're like, whatever to that.
Yeah. But then Spencer Dinwiddie, the best form of Spencer Dinwiddie was a 6-man when he was playing next as a 6-man in Brooklyn. And I think that was the best form of Spencer. I think if he went to the Bulls, instantly they'd be better, assuming they're fully healthy. And he can certainly fill the starting point guard role just fine, just not spread the floor as well as Lonzo.
He's a good
But
tweener. It's like when someone's injured, like, you're happy with him filling in because he's better than other replacements. But when you're fully healthy, you want him to be just part of your arsenal and be that 6-man more type.
yeah, but I think Kobe White can certainly. I think if you look at it right now, Kobe White, I think, can be better than what he's playing on the Wizards. I don't think Spencer Dinwiddie can be better than the way he's playing. So that's why I think the Wizards would do it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, you'd be shooting for potential. I think they could get someone better.
Teams have done worse.
I don't know. You got another one?
We got two more. So this one, the Mavericks get Spencer Dinwiddie, and they're like, take Reggie Bullock's contract, take Josh Green, and we'll give you a 2024 pick swap for Spencer Dinwiddie.
Maybe maybe they actually give up a pick. I feel like. I mean,
whole pick.
The Knicks gave up a whole first-round pick for Cam Reddish. I'm sure Spencer Dinwiddie can get a first-round pick from someone.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Green actually he's not just a throwaway player. Josh Green certainly has a lot of potential. It goes along with him with shooting and everything. I think he can fit in their rotation. Reggie Bullock, whatever, he's just for contract and that pick swap. I'm not sold on the Mavericks on Spencer Dinwiddie's fit with Luka's struggle with shooting. Jalen Brunson's not the best shooter. So throwing Dinwiddie in that mix, I mean, he could be your 6-man. That'd be a good fit. But also, that's just a lot of guys on the floor that can't shoot and or struggle shooting. So I'm not sold on the fit. If I would see the Mavericks saying no, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, the fit's definitely questionable. I wouldn't shake up the team for it, I feel like.
This isn't much of a shakeup on the team too, which is the Mavericks are like, here's some bits and pieces. Give us back somebody that can help. I think it's a decent trade. I think both sides would see.
Yeah, you're the
Wizards
one who came up
with
it. I hope you came up with a decent trade.
I try, but yeah, I see them both saying yes now. Wizards would get back Josh Green, who can be a solid piece, and he would get more of a role. Granted, kind of fitting in the role that Corey Kispert was supposed to fill, and is supposed to fill. Maybe a little redundancy, but oh well, you get some young talent back for. I don't know what they're going to get for Dinwiddie. They're not going to get a better player than Dinwiddie, I don't think, in a trade. So,
yeah, no, just because his salary's too big.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need to just look for salary relief somewhere. But someone might see value in him. Who knows?
For my last trade, I have a straight up swap to the Clippers. Wizards get Eric Bledsoe. Clippers get Dinwiddie. Clearly, like, he's good at defense. He's good at defense and playmaking. We want him next to Bradley Beal. I think it would be an interesting fit.
I can see it.
Clippers get another guy. Maybe they're like, hey, Reggie Jackson needs more help.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, Bledsoe is better than a lot of people give him credit for. If they are really trying to gun for the playoffs this year, he'd help them a lot more than Dinwiddie is.
Yeah, at least get him to the playoffs. And Dinwiddie, I think, would play fine next to Paul George and Kawhi when they come back. I mean, they'd have him for 3 years, 2 more years after this. So I think Dinwiddie's decent return for Eric Bledsoe, who's also on a 2-year.
It would just be kicking the can down the road, and they'll figure it out. And they could probably rehabilitate him and people would be like, oh, all of a sudden Dinwiddie's good again because he's on the Clippers and Ty Lue saved him.
Ty Lue. Yeah, so I like this trade. I think honestly, if I had to pick one of these to be most likely, it would be this one. Just a straight up swap. Maybe they're like, here's a second because you're taking on a contract for an extra year because Dinwiddie's goes for 3 years, Bledsoe goes for 2 years. So they're like, maybe here's a second to go along with it. I can see both sides convincing the other to put in a second. So I mean, they're very close. So I think this is most likely to happen. I see the fit with Bledsoe next to Bradley Beal a lot better.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it would be good. I don't know. I think we've had enough Dinwiddie talk to last a lifetime.
Most he's been talked about all season.
Last topic we're diving in here, or one of the last ones at least, is potentially James Harden going to Philadelphia at the end of this season to play with Joel Embiid. Obviously, the main reason, the main pairing here is that Daryl Morey is their, president of basketball operations. But they also have an owner who he's been connected with, apparently. And there might be some tampering issues we see if Harden does end up going there because of how early it's been rumored already. And it seems like, it seems crazy that he would want out of Brooklyn after, playing with his buddy Durant and, having all that talent around him, and they might win a championship this year. But truth of the matter is that him next to Embiid would be a championship potential team as well. They would make one of their rivals worse just by leaving the Nets. And he's probably annoyed with Kyrie to some degree, just the shit that they've had to go through. And I'm sure he wants to maybe just go shine a bit more. And, to be honest, like this James Harden to Joel Embiid, like alley-oops that are going on in my head, it's just like that sounds fun. A couple of players that maybe I don't love personally all the time, but they're super fun to watch. And I feel like together they would be great.
Oh yeah, they're very complementary players next to each other. He fits next to Joel better than he fits next to Kyrie and Kevin. And another good point. He came in. He wasn't Kyrie's friend. Durant was Kyrie's friend, so he came into the team. He was like, I want to go to the Nets because that's where Kyrie and Kevin are. And when he comes here, all this drama with Kyrie, I'm sure he didn't sign up for it. More or less Kevin Durant did, but he's like, I'm not. I just want to win a championship. What are you guys playing these games for?
Yeah, so but now it's impacted by Kyrie not actually playing games, so the message is not clear. And now he's playing half the games, and it's like that's probably annoying because it's one of your top players who really makes a big difference. It takes you from possible championship team to like near guarantee, like you'd have to have a complete meltdown to not win it, but
like they did. They did last playoff.
Exactly, like they did last year, and that potential is always there with any playoffs. But this year they have a great chance. Seeing that they didn't do it last year, I'd say the odds are even better. They could do it this year, but Kyrie's taking their chances down. And what is he only going to play half of the games in a playoff series?
Yeah,
I mean, it's good.
It's gotta be tough because when you look at it, without Kyrie is a major scoring option. So to play night after night, being like, oh, Kyrie's playing this night, we have to change our entire offensive scheme. And who is affected the most is James Harden, because when Kyrie's not there, he has to run the offense. And when Kyrie's there, he can either take off or he can.
Or it changes all the time. Yeah. And James Harden himself was like trying to have a bounce back year this season because he was injured quite a bit last year and didn't have a lot of time to rehab, where he he had to really take his time revamping this year, but then had to go even harder and take in on even further burden when like Durant got hurt. So I'm sure he's very annoyed.
I mean, I already root against the 76ers,
but the reports were out there and he didn't deny them. He kind of fed into them. So I think where there's smoke, there's fire in this instance.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be mad at the move. I mean, you got to think that it's like Ben Simmons going to the Nets, and I think that helps the Nets in certain aspects. I
Right.
don't
That's
know. I'm not
definitely what would
convinced that makes
happen.
the Nets better, but I think it
No, it doesn't
helps.
make them better, but they take what they can get when a
Yeah.
guy like Harden is leaving. They would be very disappointed for how many picks they gave up in the Harden trade if they don't end up with a championship out of it. But they gave it a shot, unlike Kyrie, and then they were able to get something out of it still.
I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. However, um, I would love to root against the 76ers if he went to them. So I'm with it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I think they would be fun. I'm cool with seeing the Sixers stay relevant, and they've got Joel Embiid, and I'd love to see a great superstar next to him. So I don't hate it. Whatever. It'd be hilarious seeing Kyrie and Ben Simmons get traded for each other after their own sagas. The last year or so. It was the only way this could end, with their stories intertwined and colliding.
Yeah. Not that they got traded for each other, but end up on the same team or like within the same relevant trade, both relevant pieces of the trade. Because they wouldn't trade Kyrie to they would trade James Harden for Ben Simmons. But
that's what I meant. Yeah, Harden for Simmons.
But he hasn't announced it yet.
Kyrie's been out.
Yeah, he hasn't asked for it yet. So as of right now, I'm assuming that the Nets are still going to try to be a powerhouse, a half powerhouse in the playoffs.
But yeah, they're not trading him this year. But I mean, he's going to be a free agent this year, so it would be like a sign and trade if something does happen. So that's why it'd be like if he's going to Philadelphia, the Nets would just be like, okay, I guess.
I think also Daryl Morey kind of started that narrative. His comments saying, if it's not Harden, then we're not going to trade Ben Simmons right now. That's kind of what he said. And I'm like, I think he kind of started that, and Harden's like, oh, yeah. He's like, they're a good team. I don't give a shit. He's like, boy, I'd go to the 76. I think it's more like that type of deal. I don't know.
The Nets can also, and the Nets can also offer him the most money this offseason. That was originally why he was waiting to sign. So
yeah.
In all likelihood, this could just be all about money, and he'll just sign that extension.
Right. Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, crazier things have happened.
I think his best chance is still with the Nets to win a championship. So,
yeah, I think I agree. But I mean, that'd be a pretty damn good Philadelphia team that he'd be joining, or that he'd be creating, him and Embiid together. And you can put anyone around them. They'd be fantastic. You have Seth Curry, who's a solid player there. And then you're making the Nets worse. And maybe they completely crumble. You're making a bet that, hey, Kyrie is not a stable guy. Maybe behind the scenes, you've heard that he is going to retire early. So you're like, hey, this is not where I want to be. And you convince Durant to come to Philadelphia in a couple of years.
Okay.
New super team. But
what do you guys think? You think you think Harden's going to go to the 76ers? You think he's staying with the Nets? Comment below. Let us know.
Anything else you want to talk about today, man?
No, I'm good. No, I'm good. I think I've talked a lot. Gotta prepare these pipes for our trivia.
Yeah, we have this Friday. Tune in, guys.
We're recording this Friday, so we're not gonna do it live.
All right, hold on. Yeah, that's not right, guys.
Coming soon.
Our next episode. Tune in. We are gonna be doing hot wings and even hotter trivia. So tune in.
Yeah, tune in
and don't sue me.
That's right. Don't sue us. We just want to hurt ourselves. We're just willing to hurt ourselves for entertainment. So please give us likes, give us subscribes. Just help us out.
Strictly Ball Business. Give us a subscribe. We're on YouTube and other shit. So we love you, and we will see you soon.